in joining us today. Please join in the singing of the national anthem, being led by a special guest singer, Jayden Riggs. Jayden is a near graduate of the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music and a vocal office. And at today's Rotary meeting, we appreciate those who are thinking about big system changes to benefit our community in ways that ultimately impact individuals' well-being. In particular, we thank you for our local regional chamber and its role in helping drive high-impact, growth-minded initiatives that keep our region competitive and thriving. And we pray for our speaker, Brendon, today. May you use him to challenge our thinking and inspire us to think outside the box when it comes to the big issues in our community. Amen. Now let's all remember and say together and be focused on a daily basis our four-way test, which is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be good of our actions? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Right, thank you, Jim. You may be seated, except for Brad McGonigal, Brad Green, and Christy. Can you come out of your cubicle if you're still back there in the corner? Christy Chushek, where are you? Please come forward. Let's wish these three Rotarians a big happy birthday on 21, 2, 3. Congratulations. Also thinking about celebrations as well. We want to celebrate Deborah Schultz, whose son Thomas was recently married. Let's give Deborah a big round of applause. And finally, in the theme of celebrations, a big shout out to Brian Bieber, who hosted the Red Light Table annual holiday party this past Saturday. Brian not only was a phenomenal host, but he actually paid for the dinner so that the ticket sales for all of the attendees could go to support our work at Roselawn Convent School. Let's give Brian another round of applause.
Good afternoon and welcome to Cincinnati Rotary Club number 17, the 17th oldest Rotary Club in the known universe. I'd like to welcome some guests and potential members, and as I say your name and announce it, if you would please stand up so that we can recognize you. Dan Bierstein from way back is a guest of Michael Schott. Matt Bice with Heritage Bank. Benjamin Busby with the Jeff Boyle Group. Alfonso Corneo with the Hispanic Chamber. Tom Deere with the Cincinnati Chamber. Jose Flores, FCI Floors. Here's the change. Cindy Flynn with Tony Shepard, a guest of Judy Poe. Catherine Hempelman with Eastside Consulting. Brian Holland with Genesis at Work, going through classification today. Yes, Kimberly Magnus, a returning guest of Steve Drayvall. Andrew Sizemore with Clark Schaefer, a guest of Steve Tangarelio, a guest of Steve Drayvall. Russ Turco is going through classification as well, a guest of Lincoln County. Jim Watkins with Triversity Construction, a guest of our president, Doug Bolton. Abigail Yang with Stovehouse, a guest of Michael Schott. Terry Rebel with Slacks Group, a guest of Laura. Kerry Kuznar, a guest of Kelly Cullison. And we welcome all of you who are members of the Michael Schott Fame Club.
Thank you, Bill. And as many of you know, Rotary was founded by Chicago businessman Paul Harris. And so it's very appropriately we celebrate businesses through our meeting sponsorship program. Today's meeting sponsor is Comey and Shepard, represented by Judy Poe. Judy?
Me today that I'd like to introduce you to, Cindy Flynn. So Cindy and I work in the Corporate Services Division of Comey & Shepard, and our goal is to help buyers and sellers meet with and work with the right agent. So our goal is to talk to buyers and sellers, either relocating or moving locally, about their needs, and then again matching them with the right person. We can take care of your real estate needs locally and globally. We're a member of leading real estate companies of the world, and if you have any real estate needs, let's say in Florida, Arizona, Chicago, or just want a cost of living analysis as to how much it would cost to move to Chicago versus LA, we can prepare those reports for you. So just know Cindy and I are here for you if you have any real estate needs. And also Lori Leonard, I saw Lori. She's with Comey & Shepard Realtors as well. Her focus is in sales, and she does a terrific job and is one of our new directors. So.
All right, Michael Schatzman, come on forward. Janet Metzelar, come on forward. And then also our new members, Amanda Lumen, Keisha Lowry and Lori Wilkie. Will you all please come forward so we can get up here on stage and celebrate you? And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Michael Schatzman to first introduce Amanda Luken.
Well, hi. How's everybody doing today? Okay, so I'm going to be introducing Amanda today. She fell ill at the last moment and unfortunately could not be with us. So I have been told I have a short time to speak, and as my friend Alfonso will know, I'm the wrong guy for that, to have that. But nevertheless, I will attempt to soldier on. And speaking of soldier on, I'd like to meet Keisha Lowry. Keisha is a United States Army retiree, speaking of soldier. And she's, yes. So when I met Keisha, I had a conversation about, why do you like Rotary, what are you interested in? And one of the things I learned about her is that she's very proud of having earned the Military Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal. Service, my ears perked up. And it's like, well, tell me a little bit more about you. So I found out she has a terrific sense of humor and is even moonlighted as a stand-up comedian. She's a person who's passionate about learning and has another passion for coaching, teaching, and mentoring others. Gary Walton, are you listening to this? Mentoring others. She sees leadership as an opportunity to serve others. Service? Anybody else get passionate? And she's also passionate about practicing excellent stewardship in all areas of her life. So when I asked her about, well, why do you want to join Rotary? The answer was because the values of Rotary so clearly blend and are like the values and things I learned in the military. So Keisha has a daughter and relocated back to Cincinnati upon retirement and currently working on her master's degree at Mount St. Joseph University, another Rotary Club connection, because we do have a member who's the president of Mount St. Joe. So she will also fill in from time to time as a teacher in the Cincinnati public schools, and has actually done a stint as a substitute teacher at the Roselawn Common School as well. So she checks a lot of boxes in being a member. So I'm happy to introduce for everyone Keisha Lowry.
Janet, introduce us to Lori.
Okay, I think I just broke the mic. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. I'd like to introduce my friend Laura Welke. She is a mother of 8. Do you remember that show, 8 is Enough? Well, she got to 8 and she said, that's enough. But she does have experience for many years of being host mom for youth exchange students. So she and her husband Steve have hosted many kids. And this year, her brave youngest daughter, Maddie, is in Ecuador on Rotary Youth Exchange. She's finishing her senior year doing her college applications, and I have the honor of getting to write a recommendation for her. She's a wonderful kid. She visited the Amazon, and it's thanks to all of you. It's thanks to Rotary. So we're proud of her, and we're proud of ourselves. Laura is Deputy Registrar for the Winton Woods District Schools, and she is passionate about all things exchange, and we're hoping to still do it next year. And she and her husband have come to different meetings, but they also were at our holiday party on Saturday night. And they have wonderful poses they did in Steve's bubble booth. So check those out, and please welcome her to your committees, to our meetings, and know that you can count on her to care about kids and care about everything Rotary.
Thank you, Michael and Janet. And so there are 4 things that you need to remember as a part of our announcements today. Count them, 4. First one, our next happy hour is Tuesday, February 6th, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Woodburn Brewing. Number 2, we are taking applications for the World Affairs Western Hemisphere project. The deadline for submitting your idea and project is February 15th. We have forms at the check-in. You can turn those in to Deborah Schultz, Jim Cunningham, or Tom Noonan. Also, February 15th is the deadline for the Jefferson Awards. We need you to make nominations of worthy nonprofits for this annual event. We are further ahead in the nomination process than we were this time last year, but we still need your nominations. You can find the form in E-Raise. There's also a link on the website of the Cincinnati Enquirer. And then finally, and most importantly, February 17th. What is it? Pickle Gras, all right. It's the Mardi Gras of pickleball, brought to you by the foundation, your foundation. It's our main event to raise funds for kids with disabilities. Thanks to generous sponsors, the transaction fees for ticket sales have been covered, and there's a new promo code available for all Rotary members and anyone in their network to get $15 off a tournament ticket. Use the promo code MEMBER. Players get a shirt, at least 4 games, and there'll be $1,000 in prizes, all for only $60. Please make sure that you register now. All right, I think that's the announcements. Now, what you've been waiting for today, I know many of you, split the pot. Today's pot is $54, and the running pot, if you select the Queen of Hearts, is $1,446. And the winning ticket is 233020. 233020. Who is the winner of today's split the pot? $54. Houston Flippers. Winston Combined, who won $1,446. You can choose the Queen of Hearts. Speaker. Michael?
Well, thank you, President Doug. I do think that it's quite appropriate that on the day when we have a number of guests from the Cincinnati USA Regional Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, and everywhere, that we have Chamber of Commerce weather today. Look at that out there. So, Chamber of Commerce weather on a Chamber of Commerce day. Nice job, Sarah, in arranging that. So the program committee, we seek out leaders who are new in their position. And And that's how we found people like Becky Boyer and Matthew Mendoza. Give them a little time when they move into the position to jump into it, learn a little bit about it, and bring them in to speak. And we want to hear about their vision and their future, what they have planned for us. So Brendon became CEO on May 15th. And so we gave him his time, and we gave him a little time to get on the job, figure out what the heck's going on, and jump right in. So I can't go over all of his background with you because I only have so much time, but there are two things that I want to express to you that we owe him our eternal gratitude. The first is, in a previous career, he was with Kroger, and it was Brendon who put together the initiative so that we could all buy wine at grocery stores. Secondly, about a week after he took over the position, he published a member newsletter that goes out weekly, and I would encourage you all to sign up for that, read it. It is chock full of good information. And in it, he talked about during the pandemic, he would stop every day for his favorite breakfast sandwich, the Dirty Natty. And it was at a coffee shop called Mom and Dad. Well, at the time, I was looking for a coffee shop for us to hold at one of our monthly neighborhood coffees. So, as I always do, I made a road trip to scout the place out. And sure enough, it was delicious. So we went there, and we had about 25 people show up for that, which was a nice turnout. So I'm going to get off the stage now. Just a reminder, we will have questions at the end. I'm going to open it up, the first question right now to Brendon. Brendon, anything new in your world you'd like to tell us about?
Thank you, Michael. Thank you all of you for being here today. It's really excited to be with you in this room. I love this room. It's one of these great spaces in Over the Rhine that has been rejuvenated over the last 10 or 15 years. We gather here from time to time as a chamber. We've done our legislative reception here, so it's a warm welcoming room. And this is obviously a warm welcoming crowd. So thank you so much for having me here today. Before I get started, I want to, I don't know how my slides are. Before I get started, I want to introduce the team that I have with me here today, because I have some colleagues and friends that I get to work with on a regular basis. It's what makes the job so absolutely wonderful. You've already been introduced to Thomas Deere, who's here in the front row. Thomas is our Vice President of Sales and Engagement. He does a great job engaging with our members throughout the entire region and making sure that they feel welcome, like they belong to our chamber. My colleague Pete Metz, who is our Vice President of Civic and Regional Partnerships, is here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the things that Pete leads in the course of his comments. Justin Brookhart, who is the Senior Vice President of our Cultural Economy Initiatives and the Executive Director of Link, and a previous Rotary speaker, is here. So Justin, thank you for being here. Amy Fitzgibbons is our Vice President of Marketing. Amy joined us in September and is just doing an incredible job. I'm going to talk a little bit about her work to encourage us all to be back downtown for, in addition to leading our team that does all of our recommendations. And my colleague, Kate Ward, who is our Chief Business Officer at the Chamber. She functions as our Chief Financial Officer, our Chief Business Officer, leads our membership and marketing and sponsorship and so much more. She joined the organization not quite a year ago. It's an incredible team. You may have read that just last week we hired Liz Keating to be our Vice President. We should give her a little time to get on the job, and then you can have her here too. My favorite part about Liz, she's wonderful. She did a great job. The voters got it wrong, and we got it right. I'd like to say it that way. My favorite part about Liz is that she is the granddaughter of a Great Living Cincinnatian. And you know that as an organization, we award the Great Living Cincinnatians every year at our Chamber annual dinner. This year, it is on February 29th. She told me when we were talking about her coming to the Chamber that she bought her first business suit when she was a kid so that she could go to the awards dinner where her grandfather became a Great Living Cincinnatian. That wonderful connection, that kind of Cincinnati history, Cincinnati connection, is something I really love and treasure. I also want to make sure you heard an introduction of Jim Watkins. Jim is the CEO of Triversity. He took over the role on January 21st. We both followed very high-profile, tremendous, well-known leaders in this community. Jim followed Mel Gravely. I obviously followed Jill Meyer in the organization. Jim's our vice chair. He will be my chairman of the chamber board beginning in January, and I'm grateful that he's here. Thanks for mentioning. All right, let me click ahead. Okay, today happens to be the day that we released our new strategic framework as a chamber. We operate on a strategic framework that we tell the community about so that we can help people understand what it is that we do on a regular basis. And so today, on our monthly member briefing, which we do every first Thursday of the month in the morning at 8 o'clock, next month we'll have Colleen Hanich join. If you are a member of the chamber, you can join these and listen. And today we unveiled our new strategic framework. It's a 5-year strategic framework plan, and I'm going to give you the high points of it today. Why am I starting with this picture of this old-looking building on this screen right now? Well, I hate to break it to you, we're both old organizations, right? Rotary is more than 100 years old. Obviously, it's one of the oldest Rotaries in the country right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. The Cincinnati Regional Chamber dates back to 1839. Almost 200 years old. It was founded by a group of people who had, just prior to that, in 1835, founded an organization called the Mercantile Library, which some of you may have heard of. And they gathered at that Mercantile Library location one day in 1839, and they said, we also need a business organization. And so they founded the chamber. At the time, it was just the Mercantile Chamber or something. I don't know, another long name. We are now the Cincinnati Regional Chamber. But this building existed at the corner of 4th and Vine Street. None of you remember it because it burned to the ground in the early 1900s, like 1909. I hope none of you remember that. That would actually, you should come up and speak if you remember that one. But this building was a beautiful building. It was designed by a man named H.H. Richardson, who, if you're in the industry, was a world-famous architect. This was the only building that he designed in Cincinnati before he died. And it lasted about 25 years. The outside of the building was incredible. It put City Hall to shame. The inside of the building was built of timber, and so when there was a grease fire, it caught fire and burned to the ground, and they took all the stone down. It's scattered all over the region. You can still find pieces of the stone in Burnett Woods, and in Eden Park, and in Glenwood Gardens. I'm showing you this picture not because of the building, but because of the chalkboard. And these two chalkboards sat in the lobby of the Cincinnati Chamber at the time, because they told people what the chamber worked on. At the time, we would tell people the price of lard and how long it took to get from here to Chicago on a train. Those were the important issues of the day. Those were the things that mattered to business leaders in the community in the late 1800s. So today, we're revisiting that proverbial chalkboard, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about what matters to us right now. We spent a lot of time on this work, developing this framework, and I think I want to tell you a handful of the high points of it, and then get to your questions. This is the framework that we are talking about. There is one word that I hope you walk out of here and think about, and that word is grow. Because I believe, this chamber believes, we as a community believe, that we have to grow. We have to grow our economy, we have to grow our population, and we have to grow cultural vibrancy in this region. Those are our 3 strategic imperatives as a chamber. And it's built on a strategic foundation of having a strong business community. Everything that we do, everything that we focus on will be about growing our economy, growing our population, and growing cultural vibrancy in this community. We also rooted our work. When we started down this path, and it's time for a new strategic framework, how should we talk about our work? We rooted that work in inclusion. We partnered with a firm in town that many of you may know. It's called BRBS right now. Way back in the day, it was called Global Lead Management Consulting. It was run by a woman named Janet Reed, also a great living Cincinnatian, a famous Cincinnatian who's done much good in this community. My first job out of college was working for Global Lead Management Consulting, doing back then what we call diversity training and consulting. We spent some time together thinking about what the work of the chamber was. We kept coming back to this phrase, everyone belongs here. And each of those words are important. Everyone, because we have to be absolutely, positively, 100% inclusive in who is a part of the vision of this community. Belongs. Belonging is so fundamental to what we talk about when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, because people need to feel like they belong. They need to feel like this economy works for them. They need to feel like this is a place where they can live and thrive and raise a family. And so belonging is one of the most critical values we can have. And here is important too. I've already tipped you off at history a little bit, but this specific place, this specific city with our history that is sometimes painful and sometimes pride-inducing is something that we have to think about as we work on our strategies, because we can't import the strategy from another city. Our three focus areas I talked about are growing our economy, growing our population, and growing cultural vibrancy. You might hear that 3 times today. It's because if I leave you with anything, I want you to know that that's what we're working on. We will be working on both a pro-business, our approach has always been a pro-business approach, but we will be focused both on a pro-growth approach and a pro-development approach. That's a little bit of a change for us. It means that we need to be aggressively advocating for a pro-development environment in this community. Being pro-development isn't necessarily just being pro-developer, though you do need developers to get it done. It's about being pro-apartments and pro-housing and pro-commercial spaces that small businesses can start up in, and pro-neighborhood and pro-growth. And so we'll work with the city, the county, and others to make sure that we have an agenda where we can grow this community. This year we'll hire a development policy fellow to help us think about that work and help us propose legislation that will grow our community. My colleague Pete Metz is here. Pete leads our civic and regional partnerships. You may have heard about something called the Futures Commission. And the Futures Commission is led by John Moeller, who is the CEO of the Procter & Gamble Company. John is leading a group of about 30 to 35 business and civic leaders through a process to help us think about the future of the city of Cincinnati. And they will have some specific recommendations about the budget and about what the city should be focused on. But make no mistake, underpinning all of it is a focus on growth and a focus on how as a city can we grow. Back when that lobby was the place where chamber leaders gathered, this was a vibrant, growing city. We were one of the largest cities in the country, and our growth has slowed. So we will talk very specifically about growth. Pete also leads work to do things like make sure that we complete the Brent Spence Bridge. Our organization founded the Brent Spence Bridge Coalition almost 20 years ago. Yes, believe it or not, there is going to be a new companion Brent Spence Bridge in the next 7 years. Here's an adjacent project to that we shouldn't let slip behind. 20-some years ago, I had the privilege of working for Charlie Luken when he was the mayor of Cincinnati. And I remember a certain few weeks when there was this moment and we were finishing Fort Washington Way. And we had the opportunity to put foundations in Fort Washington Way so that one day we could cap Fort Washington Way and better connect the riverfront to our downtown. And at the time, people like Carl Lindner and John Barrett and other business leaders in this town stepped up because they got a phone call and said, if we don't do this right now, we will lose the chance to do it. We have built it wrong, we will never be able to happen. We are going to realize the vision, thanks to the leadership of my friend Jim Watkins and the work that Pete and others are doing. We're going to cap Fort Washington Way and make sure we connect downtown to the riverfront. It's going to be a great part of our city. We might have events like Oktoberfest there, but it's also going to be an awesome place for anybody who lives there. That's an important priority. We're also going to work, you may have read today in the news, my friend Jeff Birdie, who I assume has been here, he's spoken at every microphone in town. He's usually an entertaining story. My friend Jeff Birdie, referred to us in the paper today as an honest reporter, was in an article about an arena, and a potential arena in Cincinnati. Jeff is very clear in his belief that we need a new arena. And so we had some conversation and he asked us to step up because we are known as an honest broker, an expert collaborator, to think about what that might look like. Would it work here? How would it work? And importantly, where would it work? And so for the next few months, we're going to do that work as well, to signal to this community how would we achieve a bold vision of a new, modern arena. And then finally, the last thing I want to say about growing our economy, we're right here in downtown. This is downtown. If you look at the suburbs, people think Clifton is downtown. If you look at the city, you know you're a little more tribal, you know your neighborhoods, those sorts of things. But if you look right here, this is still downtown for all of us, right? It's an important connection to everyone. We have to make sure that in a post-COVID economy, people come back to work. We should make sure that we have a flexible workplace because that's important for families and for parents and for folks who are taking care of elderly relatives. We may never go back to an exactly 5-day work week the way we managed it before, but having a downtown where there are 80,000 jobs and nearly 3,000 businesses, that microeconomy is crucial to our entire region. So, led by Amy Fitzgibbons, we will continue our Meet Me Downtown efforts, which is really focused on that day-to-day population. Come back down, do your meetings down here. Your employees, if you work downtown or you work in community with others, they need you. They need that mentorship. You can't get the experiences that we all got when we were in our 20s and 30s just on Zoom alone. That's really important. When it comes to growing our population, many of you, there might be some Leadership Cincinnati graduates in here. How many of you are Leadership Cincinnati? I love seeing that. That's tremendous. The Leadership Cincinnati alumni and our Leadership Center, as we call it now, includes our We Lead program, our Sea Change program, our Cincy Next program. It's one of the most beloved parts of the chamber. And so in the next 5 years, we're going to double its size and double its impact. We're going to add new programs, like a program called Breathe, which is going to be focused on mental and physical wellness, which is so important to executives and leaders in this community. But the real impact of a program like our Leadership Center is that it stitches together and makes civic connections in this community. In many ways, that's what Rotary has done for 115 years. Is that civic connectivity in a community is so important if we are going to achieve big things. If we are going to grow again, if we are going to realize a caps over Fort Washington Way and a new Brent Spence Bridge and potentially a new arena, we have to have civic connectivity so that we can do those things. Our Leadership Center sits at the center of that. We're also going to launch a new, we're also going to launch a new University and Business Connection initiative. That's really important. If you think about this region and the universities that we have here, it distinguishes us from so many other growing cities. Now, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. There's a school up there, the Ohio State University, right? I hate to break it to you, that's the whole game in Columbus, Ohio. It's just Ohio State. And I know there are other smaller schools, but they are like the 1 billion pound elephant in the room at all times. Our strength is that we have this incredible, diverse university and college system here in Cincinnati. The University of Cincinnati, by the way, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, welcoming its larger class. You can clap for UC. I'm a Xavier graduate. In the next few years, Xavier is going to launch a medical school, a college of medicine, which is tremendous because we need more primary care physicians in this community. They're doing it. But we also have Kentucky University, we have the Mount, we have Miami University, which is not that far away. I have to tell you, people act like that's in another state. It is not that far away, and the talent that's coming out of Miami should be part of this business community going forward. So we're going to do a better job of connecting colleges and universities to this business community, because if we can keep them here, then we can grow our population. We'll also do work with workforce schools, technical schools, Cincinnati State, Gateway, think about that, and also certification programs. Great Oaks is one of the most treasured assets of this entire region. We should support Great Oaks and make sure that we connect folks to town as well. Okay, so we've heard from Justin before about this little event that we do call Blink, right? It's an amazing event. There'll be 2 million people in Cincinnati this fall. Blink this year, I just want to give you, I'm stealing some thunder, I'm sorry. But this is such a cool thing about Blink is that when Justin came and became the first executive director of Blink, he said, we've got to do a better job of making sure that we are asking the world and making sure we have international artists involved. So in 2022, we had 200 people, 200 artists from mostly the United States apply to be part of Blink. And that's great because we have tremendous artists, especially here locally. This is the map of proposals that we got from Blink in 2024. 900 applications from all over the world of artists and artist groups who want to come to Cincinnati. When my predecessor, Joe Meyer, said we should do Blink, raised her hand and said, as a chamber, we will produce Blink. She was visionary because she said, it's not about just an event. It is about sending out a bat signal to the world that this is a place that talent should want to live and can find experiences like Blink. And so that's why we created Blink. That's why we helped grow it. That's why we work with partners like Agar and Cincinnati and so many ish to help produce this incredible event. It will be back on October 17th of this year. It will have an enormous impact and it's going to knock your socks off. Right? We're also going to continue our work growing Oktoberfest. It's such a strange thing to have this job. People hear chambers and they think, oh, you know, you do networking and you do some lobbying maybe. I get to tap the K for the largest Oktoberfest in the United States of America, standing next to Jim Cook from Sam Adams, who brews beer just up the road here in Cincinnati. That's a really cool thing that only we do in Cincinnati, and we're incredibly proud of it. Oktoberfest will be back this year. We're going to get some news about Oktoberfest in the next 60 days, and I have promised to not break the embargo. But we're going to envision Oktoberfest totally different in the future. It's going to be even better, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be more fun, it's going to be more like an Oktoberfest that some of you, who's been to the Munich Oktoberfest, we're going to do it better than that. And so we also do Taste of Cincinnati and Asian Food Fest. And I'll come on Asian Food Fest for just 1 second. Asian Food Fest is an event that we have produced for the last 5 or 6 years because a group of Asian community individuals, the name of the organization is now called Asian Abbey, it's called something else before, came to us and said, we have this idea, we'd like to expand this festival. We've just been kind of doing it, we don't exactly know how to produce this big festival. We think it's going to get really big, really do help. And we said yes. We love this event. It was on Court Street last year, it'll be back on Court Street this year, in April, and it's going to be an incredible event. We think we can help others. One of the things that people love about this wonderful city that we have and this wonderful region is that people like to get together and have street festivals. And so we've got this great team of folks who know how to lead them, make them run successfully. And so we're going to partner to create an event accelerator so that more of these events can help define who we are and define our culture. I want to hit a couple more points before I wrap up and take your questions. Cultural vibrancy to this community is so important because it will drive our economy and our population. Cultural vibrancy is about the events that we do, but it's also about arts and culture and sports in this community. And, I moved here in 1995. And I can admit to this group that from 1995 until about 2020, I didn't really know what it was like to be a Bengals fan. I mean, those were hard years to be right? When this community when the Bengals started winning games, and we went to playoff game after playoff game and playoff game after playoff game, and then eventually the Super Bowl, it reminded me what that does to our spirit and our psyche here in this community. And the fact that we are Cincinnati, Ohio, in the Midwest, a city that is, by fact, a smaller market. And we have the Reds and the Bengals, and now FC Cincinnati, and my friends reminded me this morning never to forget the Cyclones, but we have such an incredible sports teams in this community, we've got to do. And that's why we need to make sure we will not be shy over the next 5 years. Even though we're going to have some complicated conversations as a community, we should not be shy about making sure that we have state-of-the-art facilities that these teams can continue to play. That includes our 2 stadiums on the river, and it includes thinking about water. So you'll hear us talk about that, not because these are big-ticket wish list items. It's because it drives our economy, and it drives vibrancy here, and it puts Cincinnati on the map to the world. That's why that's so important. Our foundation is built around a strong business community, and in many ways, all of you are part of that strong business community. We nurture that through our membership, and our value proposition, through the benefits that we offer by being a member of the Chamber. Benefits that are sometimes great for companies, and sometimes great for individuals. We also want to make sure that we know that there's a lot of folks in this community who work for companies that aren't headquartered. Maybe, since COVID, there is a worker here, I know that there is for a fact, who works for Apple. And Apple's not headquartered in here. But that worker, that part of our business community. So we will expand and grow and welcome people into the chamber who are individuals who might find a way into this business community, even though their company isn't here. That's part of how we're going to grow. I said earlier, I talked a little bit about data. We're going to measure everything we do. We have a Center for Research and Data. Talked a little bit about measurements. I'd encourage you to check out data.cincinnatiChamber.com. That's where we house all of the information about our Center for Research and Data. There's data about how we compare to peer cities. There was a housing report that we did 2 years ago that really sparked a regional conversation about how we grow housing and add housing in this entire region. There's an arts report that came out just a week ago that found that the value of the arts economy in Cincinnati is $1.6 billion. We did that in partnership with Artsway. If you don't think, 25 years ago, Nashville's chamber did a study on the value of music to Nashville. Now, what do we all think of when we think of Nashville? Other than party wagons and bachelorette parties, we think of music. That's the core of how Nashville grew their economy. And it was because 30 years ago, the business community and the chamber came together to say, this is the value of music to our economy. We should think the same way about arts and culture and sports in this community. And so that's the kind of work that the Center for Research and Data does. By the way, they did a little report on Taylor Swift and the value of what it was like to have Taylor Swift. It was big, she's a big deal, but that kind of thing adds a lot of value to our community. I hope you take from this a belief that this is the right framework for the moment. Our focus has a clear focus on growth. Our focus is rooted in belonging, people, connecting people, including people, making sure that we can improve all. If you do, if you like that framework, and you're willing to be a part of that framework, the chamber doesn't just do things for the chamber. We do things with you. I don't do anything. I help enable business leaders in this community to get things done. So if you want to come along on that ride, if you want to be a part of that vision, if you want to be a part of getting these things done, here's what I think the future looks like for funders. We'll be fresh off the 5th Blink event, where we welcomed a record population from overseas, including a large group that flew here on our first direct flight from Asia. We'll be preparing to see, you can fill in your name here, but I said it's the joint Beyonce Taylor Swift tour at our new arena. I believe that the Bengals will be on their way to a second Super Bowl win, and I believe that the Reds will have won a World Series, but I know that importantly, their home field, Acor Stadium at Great American Ballpark, will be well on their way to major upgrades. I believe that FC Cincinnati will be attempting to win its 6th straight supporters shield. I try to say that multiple times fast. 6th straight supporters shield. But I believe that day we will march up Central Parkway to TQL along the reimagined Central Parkway. And you'll see a talent-attracting mixed-use development at the corner of Liberty and Central. I believe that the Arts Wave campaign will have hit $20 million for the first time ever. Ready will be celebrating a record-breaking job attraction year with new corporate headquarters in a dense, vibrant downtown because we decided this year to start bringing more employees back to the office. The port will be putting up more manufacturing and industrial sites online in places like Camp Washington, Queensgate. I believe cranes are going to be everywhere because of that industrial site development and because we created a more pro-development economy. The University of Cincinnati will continue its growth pace, and the growth of residents and jobs and innovation at the corner of Martin Luther King and Reading Road, our innovation hub, is something that drives talent from all over the community. Much of that growth, by the way, will be fueled by Centrifuge, my friend Pete Blackshaw, who we'll hear from next week, and CincyTech, the entire ecosystem of regional innovators. Xavier will be graduating new doctors from its College of Medicine. You'll be almost ready, but you'll see it to drive across the new Brent Spence and Bridge, which will have a name by then, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Bus rapid transit will connect people to more jobs and major job hubs corridor. Our Minority Business Accelerator, which we've partnered with now for 20 years, we helped create 20 years ago, will be celebrating the returns of its first fund. We'll see a boost in vibrancy in this community, where Black talent in this community in particular takes a center stage in the arts, but more importantly, in the C-suite and businesses. working together with a newfound spirit of joy. Like we are today, we will be getting ready for our Great Living Cincinnatians dinner, except it will be in its third year in a renovated and modern convention center. Most important, there will be more of us, a lot more of us, because we will have grown our population, adding new Cincinnatians, working in new jobs, and sharing all of these incredible experiences. And we'll know it because we will have measured it and tracked it and told the world about it along the way. That list, other than maybe who's coming to the arena tour and how many Super Bowls we're going to win, is not idle daydreaming. Those are all things that can happen and will happen in the next 5 years if we lock in on what I believe is our overarching goal of growth. I'm grateful to spend time with you today and look forward to taking any questions. What questions do you want to talk about? Yes?
2 quick questions. One, when you put that list in an envelope and mark open January 2020. And 2, is Cincinnati the only place in the country or the world that does something like that? Is it something that we should be more proud of?
Those are 2 separate questions. I'll take the last one first. Yes, it is something that we should be more proud of. It is absolutely remarkable that Blake happens, and it happens in Cincinnati, Ohio, and in Northern Kentucky, by the way. It is a free public art event. If you go,
Is there anywhere else in the country?
yeah. So there's not really anybody else in the United States that does anything quite like this or remotely close to this. And I do want to point out, one of the reasons we should be proud of this, especially this year, is because all over the country, there are places that are getting rid of their free public art events because they can't afford it or they don't prioritize them. And we are prioritizing them in Cincinnati, both because of organizations like Arts Day, the corporate and philanthropic sponsors, the city of Cincinnati and Hamilton County, we're prioritizing them. To be fair, there are other events like it around the world. My colleague Justin went and visited Vivid Sydney, for instance, Sydney, Australia. That's an event called Vivid. It's 2 weeks long. I haven't quite yet challenged Justin to make it 2 weeks long, but Sydney, Australia is Vivid that attracts people from all over the world. Yes, in the back.
What a wonderful speech. Thank you for doing this. You talked about the need to grow our population and our cultural vibrancy, and you cited cuisine from Germany, purest cuisine, and Asia. I'm wondering about the advocacy that the Chamber is doing to try to get our elected officials to moderate their xenophobia and maybe to accelerate progress like temporary departure protected status for the Mauritanians and maybe people from Venezuela for whom it's really dangerous to go home and need to be able to work.
Thank you for that great question. And could everyone hear the question? Repeat it. The question is about, really, I'm going to summarize. The question is about immigration. And if you could see the detail on the slide, I was going pretty fast with what's in the speech. A big part of our plan over the next 5 years is to lean further into the conversation, particularly around immigration policy. And a quick jumping off side note. 10 or 12 years ago, it seemed that every business community, every chamber, national chamber, small chamber, was really leaning into a conversation about we need immigration reform, sensible immigration reform, so that we can attract more talent. In fact, we've grown because we've attracted global talent here to this region. I admit, and I think that any chamber executive across the country who kind of just threw up their hands admitted a level of frustration with policymakers in Washington, D.C. for not being able to solve this. We have not had meaningful immigration reform in our country in almost 40 years. That is terrible because we need to grow, we need the talent, we need folks who come here and want to be part of this community and help grow jobs and grow companies here. We have a beautiful, diverse community in Cincinnati. About 10 years ago, the chamber, previous executive, Mayor Cranley at the time, helped create something called Cincinnati Compass. We still help make sure Cincinnati Compass runs well, and we're going to further elevate our work with Cincinnati Compass. My friend Alfonso Cornejo is here, who a global population that exists in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I would encourage this group to get out and explore this region. I was in nature one time, so I don't mean to pull a George Bush that I watched, but but I was up off of 275 and I had dinner at a Uzbekistan restaurant, which you should check out if you haven't read about it in the Inquirer. Just Google it. You can Belfie wrote a article about it. But the global population that was in that dining room on a Saturday night was absolutely beautiful. It's a symbol of the kind of city that we are. It's a symbol of the hopes and dreams that we can be if we welcome people to this community and make sure that people feel like they can belong and start businesses. And so we as a chamber, as a business community, and really as citizens need to be more welcome. Yes, the fire.
Yes, I did hear Jeff Brendon speak like 2 weeks ago. But he was talking about Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and Dayton working together because we really are flyover country to a lot of people in this country, and how we work in. I just want to know what the Cincinnati Chamber is looking at, because really the city of Cincinnati and could be the core of making something like that happen.
Yes, great question. The question was about Cincinnati and Dayton working together more frequently. What do we think about a big region? He mentioned Jeff Birding. I will not do my Jeff Birding impression when I answer the question, but he never stays behind a podium. He's never met a podium that can hold him in. So he would wander around answering this question. He's exactly right when we talk about a mega region. In any other part of the country, we'd be thinking about Cincinnati, Dayton, and Northern Kentucky as a megaplex region. In fact, some of the data that he cited was data that we supplied to our Center for Research and Data. We go from being the 30th largest media market in the country to the 19th largest media market in the country. Akron and Canton and Cleveland do this, and it puts more eyeballs and makes a bigger media market for their cultural vibrancy. Dayton and Cincinnati, and frankly, Northern Kentucky are different places, but also so is Hyde Park and Clifton and Akron. Those are all different places. So we can still value the differences that we have, but think bigger to the world when it comes to attracting jobs and people. I talked earlier about universities and colleges. If you count the universities and colleges in Dayton as well, because it also includes Central States and Wilberforce, the University of Dayton, Wright State, the amount of talent that the Cincinnati, Dayton, Northern Kentucky metroplex is pushing out can transform our community and really the world. And so, yes, we have to continue to lead in that. We went to Dallas a few years ago with the Dayton Chamber. I'm told one more question. Yes?
We have a potentially vice election. How do we take together between now and stay home?
Shame on us, and shame on what folks have built in this country over the last 200 years. I mentioned earlier the Brendon Cull Library, and for the last 7 years, I've hosted this group at the Brendon Cull Library 6 times a year where we've read a biography of every American president. We started with George Washington 7 years ago. It was 6 a year. In a few weeks, we're going to discuss the biography of Charlie Luken. It's been a really interesting way to look at American history and American elections with a group of people to talk about them. There have been some very terrible elections in American history. Elections that divided us. There's been elections that divided the country, literally broke the country into half. So I'm cognizant of the fact that, we can't go back and look at our history and say everything was hunky-dory all along. This has always been a place that is almost balanced on the head of a pin in terms of our ability to stay together and forge a brighter future. But we absolutely must do it. I believe that the business community has a role to play in that, as I think business leaders are leaders who think in a grounded way about the future and about long term. And so I would encourage all of you as business leaders and citizens to take part in that, to try and bridge gaps, to continue to come to places like this where you can make connections with people who have different perspectives and find ways that we can be a more united country and a more united region. Thank you very much.
Williams, Michael Fisher, Ellen Vanderhorst, Jill Meyer. We thank you very much for being here. We hope that you'll come back. We'll probably invite him back in 2026 to give us a mid-year or mid-5-year strategic plan update, see if any of those believes are on target. As an appreciation for your speaking to us today, we're giving you, I think, your first Rotary coin, which shows our fabulous skyline on the front and our 4-way test on the back for you to put that in your desk, in your life, to guide your decision making at the chamber and in our community. Let's give him another big round of applause. To the End Polio Now campaign of Rotary International. And we want to remind our committees today. We have meetings, Membership Review Committee in the Registrar Room and the Environmental Sustainability Committee meeting on the main floor. And again, as Brendon said, our speaker next week is Pete Blackshaw from Centrifuge. Make sure you make your reservation at DAC DB by 5 p.m. tomorrow. Make it a great day. Live service above self. Meeting adjourned.